Okay. Okay. Huh. Okay, there we go, guys. Looks like we're live. I don't know if anybody was around earlier today. I tried to do this, it kind of failed halfway through, and then I just thought, I just wasn't feeling it at that moment. So we're going to try again now. Hopefully it doesn't go. And also, I didn't realize that I have to record it separately. It doesn't automatically archive to my computer, so I would have lost it all anyway. So I'd rather just clean slate it. With all that being said, what's up? I'm Super Milesio. And we're gonna do a song breakdown, a Logic breakdown. And I normally don't do a live stream, but I'm trying it out this time around. See if we can get a little chat going. I don't know, maybe. But also, just a little easier for me to upload it. It just automatically goes up. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna take a look at my latest single called Planetarium. It's been kind of not too long in the making. Since I'm here. I'm going to be here the entire time. And we got my dad here. So I'm going to play you the initial voice memo for this song on my phone, as I normally do. This is dated to January 10th, 2025. And the voice memo is called 124 chord, because that's essentially all it was. Okay, and then it goes on and on. I'm sort of just trying out different things. Well, so we got that. So again, that was January of this year. So it's been a good little bit, about 8 months or so. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and quit while I'm here, full screen, and of course my camera. I'm going to go ahead and show you what's going on here. This is the 5-string. I don't know if I've showed off the 5-string on one of these videos. I probably have, but it's been a minute. Oh, listen to that. I haven't restrung this once since I got it in December of last year. These coated D'Addario strings last a long time. But anyways, no capo for this one. This is the Jacob Collier 5-string. Just to make sure I say that. No capo, so we're in the key of D. And so we kind of have this groove going on. I guess you could, it's 6/8 in my session. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's what it is. So we've got the 1 chord, minor 2, 4. And the beautiful thing about this guitar and this tuning is that these 2 notes act as your drone. So you can do so many diatonic things, and you've got those 2 notes to be your drone. So I was just playing around with that. It's just such a satisfying. Sort of bite these notes out differently depending on what you want to do. And for a while I was unsure of how to add lyrics to that, how that was going to work. So I'll show you what I ended up going with. But that's. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and show you the one sort of surprising thing. So you go to 4, and those are the main chords we're going to stick with. It's just different inversions. So the next one is that's first inversion 1 chord. We have a 5 chord there, so that's a little different. Then we have 4, 5. That's still a 4 chord, so that's essentially what's happening, but I make it more interesting, keep that pattern of going up, and we make it a first inversion 4 chord, so it's over that B natural. But then here's the real kicker, so we do that a few times. And then we go, so instead of landing on that B natural, we play a B flat chord, which is, thanks to that A, it's a B flat major 7 chord. C plus an A and a D. functions as a C chord with some extra flavor. And that's what I do there. So that's the classic flat 6, flat 7, 1 that I'm partial to. So those are pretty much all the chords we're going to use here. So that's that, and no harm done. So we're going to actually look into the logic session at this point. And hopefully my stream will endure better than it did earlier. So here we are. This is the logic session. Let's take a look, guys. How many regions we got? 270. It's not nearly as involved as some of my other projects. And when I envision this song, you know, I've got so many ideas just flying around in my head. And I oftentimes envision a very busy sounding, like a soundscape of a bunch of different things. And I got to recording it, I got to a certain point where I thought I'd want to add a bunch more, and I kind of felt like it was done. Like, and it's kind of just like I'm inflating this balloon, and I'm like, I feel like it's going to pop if I inflate it anymore, because let me tell you, this guitar, it's beautiful, and I'm not going to get in the weeds about tone woods and all that stuff, but it's an all Koa guitar. Koa, especially, well, it changes as it gets older. That's a whole other thing. This one's still pretty new. But even still, it has a lot of low end to it. It's a very bassy guitar. It's got a lot of low mids. It's got really twinkly highs. And it's beautiful. But what I found is that it's more difficult to mesh this guitar with a bass, like an actual bass guitar. And I don't know, maybe that's me, especially when you play it in D, because that's already so pretty low. If you put a capo on it, it gets a little better. But all that to say, I nixed the bass. I was trying to add some bass in there. Got my acoustic bass, was playing around. It just wasn't working. So we'll talk about sort of that process. But all that to say, I kept it pretty simple, all things considered. So let me just quit yapping. Blah, my hair is so bad right now. Let's go back to the beginning. Take a look at what we got here, okay? So we have our guitar part. And it is sort of threefold, I guess you could say. So this is something I like to do a lot. And it is just looped rhythmic string percussion. So that's what that is. I turn on the clicker here. That's all it is. The entire song looped. And you'll notice that there's two separate tracks for that. I don't just duplicate it, I actually record it twice, take a little snippet, and just loop it. And I make that loop happen at different times, just to sort of mask the fact that it's looping. You can't really hear it, but I worry if I put them at the same time, it's going to be obvious where that cut is, where it loops. But, you know, whatever. I made sure there was no, like, loud clicks or anything. So that's going just to keep the rhythm. Even though, like, what I just played for you on the guitar is pretty all-encompassing for a live performance. It's got the rhythm, it's got the chords, it's got, you know, a sort of melodic feel to it, a bass line, if you will. But just for extra clarity, I split it up into three parts. So these two up here, this is what they're doing. Oops. So, okay, so we start with that drone. Dom-ba-dom-da-dom. It's just a low D. And then... So that is me just plucking the top three strings, or I still don't know if you call those the top three or the bottom three. They're the lowest three in pitch, the closest to my head when I'm playing it, up on the neck when you're playing it. So I'm just plucking those triad notes, just for extra clarity on that, again, to add that sort of bass line feel to it. Boom, boom, boom. That's a serviceable bass line on its own. Very, very simple, of course. And then, you know. So that's continuing. There's that inversion. And here we go. And then you'll notice I start right over. So at the end of these tracks, I do a little roll. And that rings while the next phrase starts right up. Living on your own. So So the F sharp can sort of float there, even, and it creates like an interesting major 7 sound with the G chord, blah blah blah. So that is those tracks again for extra clarity and sort of oomph, and those are panned. Can you guys see that? I don't think you can. Let me move my stupid face. There it is right there. That's how it's panned. It's pretty close to the center. We've got one on the other side as well. These ones on the other hand are panned, well sorry, these ticka-ta-ticka-ta are panned all the way left and right. And then these ones are like kind of split, you know, a little bit towards the left and right. Because these are pretty much what I was just playing you, the actual rhythmic chords, where I'm playing all the notes, or all the strings. And, I mean, you can hear, especially if you're wearing headphones, you can hear that's got some low end already, and so match it up with that. So, that's pretty much it for our guitar part. It is quite a repetitive tune. There's verse, 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 pretty much verse, then a bridge. Well, I don't even know what to call it, to be honest with you. There's sort of a bridge, and then a coda, or another bridge, or, extended, whatever. Most of it is verses. There is no chorus because, there's no chorus. That's all I want to say. So you're going to be getting that progression a lot. And I was worried it would be a little too repetitive and it would overstay its welcome. I tend to think that it's just catchy, and it's catchy enough. The groove is nice. There's enough mixing it up to where it's not, you know. There's plenty of songs that revolve around several chords, and they're great. So maybe this is one of them. You tell me. Proven wrong. Okay, so that's guitar part, and that leads us right into the vocals. So, no pitch correction in this song at all. That's something I'm trying to stick to more and more now with lead vocals, definitely. Like, I've really trying to hold myself to not using pitch correction on lead vocals. Not necessarily out of principle. Sorry, one sec. Okay. Not necessarily out of principle. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I did that for years. But I do genuinely think when you can pull it off, you get a better, more authentic sound. I've never quite been able to scrub all of the artifacts when I use flex pitch. There's always something in there that's like, it sounds weird. And I'm even, like, the last World O' World cover that I did, which is a ton of voices. It's a huge, complex choir piece, and I was not sure if I was going to be able to do it. I did all that with no pitch correction, and it does genuinely sound a lot better than I think it would have if I used pitch correction. Anyways, all that to say, there is none here. I had to do a lot of takes, which you won't see them anymore because they've been compressed and squashed into one track. I did a lot of takes to make sure that I nailed it most of the time. And so here's what we got.
Mercury, my closest friend, when my fire burns low, it's on you I depend. Mercury, we get along, but just when I think I get you, I'm proven wrong.
So one thing you might hear, which is unusual for my songs, is delay. Or I guess I should say echo. Yeah, but it's under the delay umbrella. So you can hear that.
Mercury, fire burns.
Burns, burns, burns. I don't normally do that. And if I crank that up, I mean...
My closest friend, when my fire burns low, it's...
That would just be disgusting. I didn't want it to be like super... Yeah. I just added that yesterday. Dad says I like the delay. Yeah, and the reverb is not too extreme. It's just vocal plate. So without the delay.
Mercury, my closest friend, when my fire burns low, it's on you I depend.
Right? But then you add this.
Mercury, my closest friend, when my fire burns low, it's on.
When everything else comes in, it's not super prominent, but it just adds that little bit of like, because we're in space. The song is about space. So, I wanted to add that little atmospheric little bit of whatever, even though in space sound doesn't even travel. So just, bear with me.
Mercury, my closest friend, when my fire burns low, it's on you I depend.
So that's pretty much what it is. And then we have a little gap, a little dead space. Maybe that's a little harsh. We'll say vacuum. And then we get this.
Oh, Mercury, strong-willed as stone.
So that note, let me back up a little bit. It's supposed to be like an F sharp, but it's a little loose, so it's kind of somewhat between an F and an F sharp. It's kind of a high note for me, depending on how well I've warmed up and whatever else I've been doing that day. But this is a whole tangent. But so my voice changed when I was about 13. It started to change. And from age 13 to about 19, it just kept getting lower and lower and lower and lower. And then ever since then, 18 or 19, I don't think it's gotten any lower. What's happening is that, what's happened and continuing to happen is my upper, like mid-upper range, like above a middle C, has gotten way smoother. I'm able to do it way more delicately. I listened to old recordings from even like 2 years ago, and I'm just like, man, it was the best I could do. I mean, I can't really fault myself, but like that higher register, like it sounds so strained in some areas, and like it still does sometimes if I'm not careful, but I really feel like I'm getting better at that,
Oh, Mercury, strong-willed as stone.
Yeah. And then
burning your bridges and living on your own.
Yeah, so that's sort of to go along with the weird chord change. So yeah, that's like the fundamental part of this song. And you can see, normally I love just throwing tons of background vocals, like more and more and more. Just whatever comes to me. It doesn't really show up until the very end. It's pretty much just the lead vocal up until the bridge and then the coda, or whatever you want to call it. And then there's some extra stuff down here, the most recent stuff that I added, which we will get into that as well. For now, let's just take a trip. So, honestly, to be honest with you, other than this stuff, most of these verses are pretty much the same. So let's just play through another one.
Venus shining so bright, when the sky is dark, you shed a little light. Venus makes it all right, generous and kind with just enough fight.
So that's your main phrase there, or I don't even know. The words are escaping me into a black hole, if you will. But that's like your main sort of whatever. And then we have this gap where the chords change a little bit, and then we come back in with the last line. And I debated what to put in those little fill areas. Who's Phil? I don't know. I'm sure you know someone named Phil. But again, I kind of left it like with the ambient stuff that I added, which we'll get into. I kind of felt like it was good. You need just like a little breather before we get back into it. So I left those areas pretty much just the guitar and whatever other ambient stuff I added.
Oh, Venus offers her hand. When the going gets tough, we'll do what we can.
Yeah. So that is a G there.
Going gets tough.
When the going gets tough. I mean, I'm trying to think of what you would do if that chord change wasn't there. But either way, we switch to an F natural that's not in the key of D. So it's very clearly shifting for a second around the circle of fourths. We're going to B flat, then to C, then to D. So you get some notes in the melody that aren't diatonic to the key of D.
When the going gets tough, we'll do what we can.
Okay. So I'm trying to think of how to go about this, since, like I said, these verses are pretty much going to be the same other than what I added down here. Looks like we're still going.
Oh, Gaia.
Now that's one. So Gaia is obviously another word in I believe it's Greek something, but I could be wrong about that. It's the word for earth. To me, earth just didn't really ring off. It didn't sound like it worked when I was saying, "Oh, earth, blah blah blah." I wanted Gaia because there's actually a James Taylor song called Gaia, and this song actually has a few James Taylor references. Sometimes they just happen. Like I don't even go out of my way; it just happens. So I'll mention those. Oh, I already passed one. Venus, you shed a little light. It's a James Taylor reference.
Gaia, my golden girl, my love, my meaning, my world.
It's the first time I'm trying to do some riffs there a little bit, I guess.
Gaia, my golden girl, my love, my meaning, my world.
Yeah, yes, Gaia is Greek, thank you.
Gaia brings lovely hues, like the greens and the blues and the colors I choose.
It's another James Taylor reference, Sweet Baby James.
Gaia, no matter.
Could also use Terra if you wanted to go Latin. That's not a James Taylor song. Yes, true. All of that is true, yes. Oh, Terra. That's a nice name too.
Oh, Gaia, no matter the time or season, you are my rhyme and my reason.
So, I hope that cut. Maybe that cut was in the final. Oops. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, so in order to break up the repetitiveness a little bit, I try to do different stuff with the melody. So that time I went down to the lower register a little more. Reason. So, just do what you can to mix it up.
Mars, a blazing fury.
So then we got Mars. I'm going to skip around a little bit and we'll circle back when we start talking about the other stuff.
Jupiter, though
So this is Jupiter. This is probably one of my favorite riffs that took me forever to get right.
Oh, Jupiter, though I've outgrown you in size, you'll always seem bigger in my eyes.
Yeah, so what is that?
You'll always seem bigger in my eyes.
It's supposed to be da 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 in my eyes. I can't even do it. I'm not great at riffs. I'm not even gonna lie to you. If you speed it up, I'd like to do this sometimes. If you speed it up, it actually sounds better.
Oh, Jupiter, though I've outgrown you in size, you'll always seem bigger in my eyes.
Yeah, whatever. This is my scratch vocal that I had.
You'll always seem bigger in my eyes.
I actually think that other than the last note, that one's actually a little better. But oh well.
I've grown you in size, you'll always seem bigger in my eyes.
Yeah, but anyways, that's what I was going for. It's hard. I'm not great at riffs. I remember that Mina bird toy. Oh yeah, I thought that was a macaw or a parrot or something. Anyways, it would repeat everything you'd say. That was so annoying, but funny. Gosh, what was I saying? It's really hot in here. Yeah, I think it was a parrot. Yeah, so I'm inclined to believe that some people are just born with a greater riffing skill or just their voice is more nimble like that. I'm not saying you can't learn it or that it doesn't take hard work to get good at it, but I don't think I'm naturally a riffer, whatever that means. That's kind of my take on like a Jacob Collier type of riff, whatever.
Saturn.
And here we get into the bridge. So let's take a look at that. We got some support here for the first time, background vocals.
Saturn and Neptune, distant but dear. You'll always have a friend as long as I'm here. No need to be proud, no need to be cold. I see through the clouds to your hearts of gold.
Yeah. So just
Saturn and Neptune, distant but dear.
Again, no pitch correction on that. So it's not perfect, but I think that adds to the sort of the texture.
You'll always have a friend as long as I'm here. No need to be proud, no need to be cold. I see through the clouds to your hearts of gold.
But that's just there to sort of support the lead vocal, of course. And then the guitar, I might as well, since I didn't really show you that part. Ugh, my headphones. I'm just go ahead and show you this. Let's go. Pew. Here we go. Say hello to the guitar again. So we've got, oops. So I'm trying to let it ring a little bit more rather than muting it all. So just let it ring. I'm playing a little quieter now because this mic is very sensitive. We have a minor 6, 1/3, or I'll just, that's not even how you say that. I6, first inversion, 1 chord, 4. Da, 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 distant but dear, you'll always have a friend song. I just love that. It's got to be one of my favorite bass lines, you know. So that's what I did. No need to be kind. No need to be kind. That's not what the words are. No need to be bold. I seem to die. And then we go to a C chord. So minor 6. My heart's of gold. That's not what I did, right? I think it's just that. And while I'm here, I'll just go and show you the closing part, the spinning around and around. We have, so of course one of my favorite things about this guitar, oops, can't even do it. You can play some beautiful lines with that while leaving this as a drum. So this is still a D chord, of course. But what that allows me to do is quickly go to a minor 6. Sorry guys, I'm not doing well today with this. So we have 1, 6, 2, first inversion, 1, 4, 5. Then what I did, I think I did, yeah. Just to make it a little interesting. It's pretty much the same stuff, just different inversion for the most part. And then I go, oops. And that's the entire song. You can figure it out. Oh, shoot. I apologize. I do apologize. Okay. I need to turn my air back on after this. Boom. All right. So, that's what we have there. I think it's, we're going to save this for last. I think it's about time we get into these green, these green little buggers down here. This is all pretty much spacey sort of sounds. So I've got my MIDI keyboard plugged in. Let's see. So all these are a little bit different. Oh, you can't even see it. Shoot. All right, I'm going to move myself for just a sec. So we have, all these different things. That's Jupiter rising, rising sun, nightfall. Offshore. Which one was the bassy one? Was it rain clouds? No. Pulse legato bass. Yeah. I mean, that's just nasty, right? So, anyways, I searched long and hard for a bunch of different sounds to use here. And I just played through each verse and experimented a little bit. So this one fades in, I believe. Let's see what we got here. This is Nightfall. So we've got this like just these ambient little sounds. The beautiful thing about this is most of these like sounds have a lot of different harmonics and notes floating around, but the beautiful thing is that due to this guitar and the nature of it, the chord progression is very diatonic. You have the A and the D as your drone notes. You can pretty much put an A or a D and it's gonna work with any chord in this song for the most part. So there you go. I mostly stick to those, with a few exceptions that we'll see. So that just fades in with the guitar just like that. There we go. So that lasts quite a while for sure.
I get you, I'm proven wrong.
So just A, there's a B natural. Meow. So we just stick to a D there again because we're doing some crazy chords, but a D is gonna work.
Build a stone, burning your bridges, living on your own.
And now we switch to this. So I tried to sort of match it with the vibe of each planet, which we'll get into that imagery at the very end just a little bit. But, you know, just the words, the imagery that I was using. So Venus is a little bit more shimmery, delicate, a little higher up. You have these like, these little, you know, as Jacob would say, scrinkly little ploinks.
Venus makes it all right, generous and kind with just enough fight. Oh, Venus.
V. So that's what we have.
When the going gets tough, we'll do what we can.
Again, this was just me sitting here, just kind of like playing around. Just, oh, there's where I want that to sort of swell to. No, I'd literally do that. I'd sit in my chair and just press it. Boom. I'm a genius. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, that's horrible. Anyways, so.
Gaia, my golden girl.
So Gaia is even more like, you know, shimmery and whatever. So we go Nightfall. Ma, 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 ma. That's just what I was hearing, and that's what I did. And then it switches to the key of A. Because I thought that would be cool. So see if you can hear that floating on top.
Gaia, my golden girl, my love, my meaning, my world. Gaia brings lovely hues, like the greens and the blues and the colors I choose. Oh, Gaia, no matter the time.
Let's see what I did there. Sort of a B minor thing, which it works. All the notes work, I guess. And now we've got Mars. Mars is a little ornery. Yep. Boom. So there we go. And so that just sort of, again, this was tricky because the guitar already has a lot of low end, and I wanted it to be like a little crunchy, but not overwhelmingly muddy. Because after all, there's no water on Mars, you know what I'm saying? No liquid water. Actually, is there? Maybe they recently found that there was.
Mars, a blazing fury, a straight, simple-minded mystery.
So that's just sort of adding some extra, just, you know, a little bit of, what's it like? You know, it's like cayenne pepper.
Mars, a stubborn and stern.
Alright, so then let's move on here.
Jupiter, you command your own space. When my ego flares, you put...
Jupiter's got a lot of floaty little sizzlies. Yeah, those are wild. I just thought that was fun. I like that they're all floating sort of around your ear. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that worked for Jupiter. But we also are finally adding in the string ensemble. I believe for now they're just doing the low D. Yep. And they just hold that. Again, that's kind of the only thing I can make work as a bass line.
Carries all the weight of those in your wake and a conscience so great.
So there we go. And then the strings start doing a lot more in this part. And we also have some more extra stuff. So for the bridge, here we go. Whoa. Whoa, a note got deleted there. Oops. I don't know if that was in the final version either. Oh well.
Of gold,
Yeah.
no need to be cold. I see through the...
So that's just sort of supporting the chord progression, just extra.
In Neptune, distant but dear, you'll always have a friend as long as I...
Just extra support for that, and then talk about support. We have even more here. It's one of my favorite things that I just decided to do on the fly, this line here. Oops, paused it. And I boosted the heck out of that, as you can see. Because we end up with a G chord here. Oh, we have major 7 sound. It's beautiful. And so you can, I didn't want to overdo it, but you can definitely hear that if you listen.
Saturn and Neptune, distant but dear, you'll always have a friend as long as I'm here. No need to be proud, no need to be cold. I see through the clouds to your hearts of gold.
And there we go. And that brings us, guys, into the final section. Again, I showed you the chords, I'll show you again. And there we go. You know, pretty standard there. And let's get into this. I debated if I wanted to do more, but I just said, let's just say spinning around over and over.
Spinning around and around and around, spinning around and around and around, spinning around and around and around, spinning around and around and around and around.
Yeah, very, very soft fade out and around. But then I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I did an actual round around there? My dad's working on a song, Will the Circle... Yeah, round and round and round. And there's a bit where everyone's doing a round. And I don't think I consciously realized I was referencing that, but I think I was partially inspired by that.
Spinning around.
So, all that to say, actually, I think these guys are just support for the main.
Round and around and around, spinning around and around and around, spinning around and around and around.
Right, but then we also have all these guys coming in individually.
Spinning around.
And most of them are pretty hard panned left and right.
Spinning around and around and spinning around and around and around and spinning around and around and around and spinning around and around and around.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't necessarily have to go through each of these individually. Most of them are kind of repeating the same phrase.
Around and around.
And then they just sort of dip out. Some of them are doing something different though, like this one.
Spinning around and around and around and around and around.
It's just repeating that note because I thought that was cool.
Around and spinning around and around and around.
Yeah, and so I'm just adding more and more, like increasing the frequency as well and where they're popping up. I did not follow really any specific sort of rules or philosophy here, just wherever I felt like it needed, oh my gosh, my hair, wherever it needed an extra thing.
Spinning.
So let's just play the vocals for now.
Around and around.
So I leave it blank for just a second, and then the rounds come in.
Spinning around and around and around, spinning around and around and around, spinning around and around and around, spinning around and around and around and around.
And yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. And we end with these, like, you know, last little ambient noises. The guitars have a held out chord, and wouldn't you know, I retuned the guitar just for that last chord, which you can't really do in a live performance very easily. But let me just show you how satisfying that is. The problem is, okay, and we're done with the Logic session. Say goodbye. You know, without getting into the weeds, the major third is quite out of tune on the equally tempered system. But unfortunately, you kind of need to use the equally tempered system so that all the chords sound decent. So, you know, this chord is out of tune. Even though the guitar is tuned, this chord is out of tune. And this chord. Okay, but what if we do this? So on its own, that sounds terrible, right? Doesn't that sound sweeter, though? You hear there's no waves there. How about here? Maybe I went a little too far. So I think it just got a lot flatter. The problem is, as beautiful as that sounds for those major chords, when you try to play a minor chord, it sounds like hot trash. It does not work. Or any other inversion, really. That sounds very nasty, very bad. But for those major chords, it's very good. So all that to say, sometimes when I'm recording like this, on the last chord I'll go ahead and detune it, just so that it rings true. Anyway, guys, let me just briefly say that the inspiration for this song, sort of, is that, if an individual, say me, is the sun, then the people in your life are like planets in your solar system. So I'm sort of drawing inspiration from people in my life, not necessarily one-to-one, but that's the idea, is that these different planets represent different people in your life with different roles, different characteristics. And so I did sort of approach it with that mentality. Some parallels might be drawn to like the meaning of those like Roman gods or the Greek gods. I wasn't really trying to follow that. So if any of it doesn't really make a ton of sense from that perspective, that's why I wasn't really drawing from that a ton. But that's all I've got to say about that. It's been a fun song. I've been playing with that riff, for such a long time. It was good to not, get it squared away. It's a nice little single out there. At this point, I am 4 days away from what's hopefully going to be my last semester of college. And hopefully you can see by my facial expression right now that I'm feeling a little trepidatious, if that's a word. But I'd like to look back on this video in a few months and say, what was I even worried about? I did it and it was fine, and now I have a job and I'm making a ton of money and it's great. Whee! But, there we go. That's called Manifesting 101. But I'm about to do that. You might not see as much of me through the duration of this semester, not as much as it's been during the summer for sure. But I've got some plans. No plans for an album at this point. I've got a few more little bits and pieces of songs floating around and around and around and around that I might end up fleshing out at some point. Maybe some covers, but I've done a lot this summer. And I don't want to get burnt out with everything else I've got going on. So it's going to be a sparse few months maybe, but I will not disappear. Don't you worry. But yeah, that's about all I got for you. So thanks for watching. This has been a fun little stream, and I'll see you later. I'll see you when I see you. Peace out. Bye.